5 in a row. Let's go. Warriors get another one, this time on the road in Utah, where I thought it might be a little bit of a trap game, honestly. You've got Steve Kerr attending Decky's service overseas, Kenny Atkinson filling in. They've returned to Utah, and, Super Bowl hangovers, perhaps, for some of these guys. And then you're in that elevation. So I was like, I don't know about this one. But they came out and shot really well and played really well. Let's start with the headliner of Klay Thompson's comments in the last 48 hours, essentially saying, hey, I'm willing to take on a different role here if it means staying with this team. And I'm understanding I'm aging, and I'll do other things, right? Something that I think we've all been hoping he would say and come to terms with, right? And I think that, what's the saying? Winning cures all. I think ultimately it's winning, right? Winning, what are they, 5 in a row, 7 of their last 8, whatever it's been here, the proof is in the pudding. And I think that has helped Klay come to grips with this, because ultimately, when you look at Steph, Klay, and Draymond, this core, that is what it's based off. It's based off all three of them at the end of the day put winning at the top of their priority list. And believe it or not, that's not the case with a lot of stars in the NBA in big threes and pairings. They say it is, but their actions say otherwise. And so then what do you know? Klay comes out and has a really good game, really efficient game. And you know what he looked like in that fourth quarter? He looked like Rip Hamilton, right? Get the pin downs to the nail, the mid-range game. I think it's something that he should look to do more often, because it takes less leg. When you get to the nail in that mid-range game, you can wrist shoot it. You don't have to be as on balance. You don't have to use as much leg. And it was just a really good overall performance from Klay. I think the tricky part of as far as navigating his role is what happens when he starts hot and then he cools off. Does he press through and try to remain hot, or does he fall back and let things take its natural course within a game? But I think we all loved hearing those comments, and it's really kind of been a cool process to watch him figure this out. And again, I think winning is a big reason why it's easier to accept right now. The other big subject, I think, was Trayce Jackson's impact in that game last night. Now, there was some speculation. Steve Kerr's on that bench. Does Trayce play? I mean, look, he only played 9 minutes, right? But you want to talk about production, 11 points, 4 rebounds, a block. But it wasn't even the stats. It's not even the stats with Trayce, right? It is the shot altering and the rim running presence that changes the game. And, Dario, I think, has kind of struggled to find a rhythm. He was sick, right, on the beginning of that road trip. And I think we all understand what Dario brings to the table offensively. And earlier in the year, he was essential, right? We weren't making threes. He spaces the floor. He knows how to get to the line. He can pass the ball. We all understand that. But now that the offense is flowing better, Wiggins is shooting the three, Klay is climbing out of his slump, I don't know if you need his offense as much, right? And then you could also make the argument that now that they're playing at such a faster pace, Trayce may even help more offensively. But more importantly, I think you see the defensive impact, right? And again, it's not about block shots. It's about altering shots. It's about a presence. When guys get downhill and Trayce rotates over, he makes you think about it, right? He makes guys alter shots. He gives them hesitation. Where Dario, it's funny, man. I don't want to pick on him too much, because I appreciate him being a part of this team and I don't question his effort. But he does this thing defensively where it's kind of an illusion. It looks like he's trying really hard, but ultimately he's just not very good defensively. We all know he has physical limitations, but he doesn't help himself either with kind of his decision making and timing. If you're going to foul someone, foul somebody hard. And so I think we all see right now, the writing is on the table, at least from the fan base's eyes. Like, hey, I think Trayce needs to start getting some of Dario's minutes. We're playing at a faster pace, and what he brings to the table fits more of a need right now than what Dario does. And Dario's, again, in the beginning of the season, we needed his offense, but it doesn't seem like we need that as much. And so the juice isn't worth the squeeze with him being out there and his liabilities on the defensive end. And that's not to say that Dario can't be a big piece moving forward here. I think that he could be super important in specific playoff matchups. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm making assumptions, right, that we're going to be there. But, you're playing the Lakers, or you're playing a team where you need a stretch big. I think he can still play a very important role. But right now, there's ebbs and flows in the season. And right now, I think it's Trayce season, right? And it'll also preserve Dario, who hasn't been the most durable guy throughout an 82-game season. Now, I think we'd all be curious to see what these rotations would look like if, say, Kenny coached, 10 games. And I don't know how quickly Kerr will return. So maybe Kenny will coach this Clippers game or the rest of this week. Moody got in there, and it just sucks, man. It sucks. I think we all feel bad for Mood because he's pressing. He's pressing, right? He was 0 of 8 in 11 minutes. And that's what happens to a young guy specifically, where you're not sure when and where your opportunity is going to come from. So once you do get out there, there is such thing as trying too hard. And I think that's what you're seeing with Moody. And it's ironic because over the years, I've heard so many people say, hey, Kerr's ruined Wiseman. And there was a time where he was ruining Poole. There was a time where he was going to ruin Kuminga, right? But like, if you really want to point to a young guy that I think we've unfairly stifled, it's got to be Moses Moody, right? And now Lester Quinones seems to be above him in the rotation. So, yeah, I feel bad for him. But another great team effort. The vibes are up. Kuminga, well, he only had 14 last night, right? But what you're noticing is Kuminga, he whether he's like in rhythm or not, he's going to find a way to contribute and score, right? It's like, because he's already learned the superstar tricks to get to the line. It's wild that he's getting a better whistle than Steph. Not really when you consider how violently he goes to the rim, but he's already getting star-like whistles, which is very encouraging. Defensively, though, man, I was kind of poking fun of him in the breakdown today. You can check that out on my Patreon. It's about, I think it's like 14 minutes today. It was a good one. They usually are. But he gets beat backdoor a lot. And I think it's part of the scouting report. He gets in trouble trying to deny the ball, whether he's trying to blow up a handoff or he just takes that false step out and then he gets back cut to the rim. And he either picks up the foul, blowing up the denial, or he gets back cut. And so I'd like to see him clean that up. But he just continues to progress. And I think he's officially taken the step now in my eyes, right? It's been a big enough sample size where it's like you can rely on Kuminga every night to give you production. And it's exciting, man. Now I heard people saying, oh, Utah, beat a playoff team like Utah. I'm not so sure Utah is interested in making the playoffs. We know how Danny Ainge operates. When you trade Olynyk and that other cat who were their vets who settled them down a lot, and now they're leaning into Keontae George, who I think he's just fine, but obviously he's a ways away. And then I think Taylor Hendricks, the 9th pick out of somewhere in Florida, right? Like he might have been one of the bigger whiffs of this year's lottery. He's a long ways away. But I think that they're going to let him lead the tank. To me, I'm not so sure they're interested in fighting to get into the playoffs this season. And so a win's a win, right? And it's never easy to go into Utah and win. Let's be clear. But I don't think that this was a legit playoff team. Now, Wednesday night, that's a big game, right? The Clippers have been the hottest team in the league now for a month. And you look how this sets up. They kind of got their teeth pushed in by Minnesota last night, where that was close. I turned it back on and it was over, right? Minnesota, impressive victory. So they're going to be looking to lick their wounds after that loss. But I also think they're going to be looking to end this winning streak from the Warriors. And so I expect a playoff-like atmosphere Wednesday at Chase Center. You'd love to make a statement win like that. But then they got to fly back to Utah for the makeup game just before the break. And so that one might be the toughest of this week's games, because I expect them to be up for the Clippers, just like the Clippers will be up for them. I will have some all-star coverage. I'm going to have a call-in podcast show, so stay tuned for that. And of course, I'll be back to break down these final 2 games before the break. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.